Cognizant to the needs of our learners, parents, and teachers, the Department of Education provided us with powerful tools for productivity that will allow us to foster critical thinking skills, problem-solving skills, communication and collaboration skills to be compassionate, responsible global citizens. Join us and discover new ideas in our series of professional development training program with the ICTS Edtech Unit and Microsoft Education Philippines. Together, we will equip our learners and empower our fellow educators for a dynamic future. Para sa bata, para sa bayan, at para sa guro. Sulong Edukalidad.
Magandang araw, Sir Wilbur po, at your service. Narito ang ETUlay upang gabayan ka sa inyong pag-aaral upang lubos na maunawaan ang iba't ibang paksa o subject. Ang ETUlay ay isang free online tutorial class na pinangungunahan ng ICTS Educational Technology Unit sa pamumuno ni Undersecretary Alain Del B. Pascua. Ang programang ito ay hindi lamang para sa mga bata, kundi ito rin ay magsisilbing gabay sa mga magulang at mga guro kung paano nila ituturo o gagabayan sa bawat asignatura ang kanilang mga anak o mga estudyante. Sa kasalukuyan, ang self-learning module mula sa rehiyon ng Calabarzon at kilala sa tawag na pivot ang ginagamit sa ating ETUlay online class. Kaya ano pang hinihintay ninyo? Ihanda na ang inyong mga ballpen o lapis, papel o kwaderno at samahan kaming itulay ang pagkatuto para sa bawat batang Pilipino. Sama-sama tayong magtutulungan para malampasan ang mga hamon sa panahong ito. Halina't matuto kasama ang inyong online tutor sa oras na ito.
Ayan. Magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat. Welcome po sa ating isa na namang punong-punong araw ng Biyernes. Today po is Matalino Friday. So welcome po. Marami akong nakitang maagang bumabati as early as kanina pong 2:59. Meron na pong mga taga Doña Magdalena Gafford High School, si Judy Ann B. Castillo, si Rhea Rose Ann from this time Lipa City, Batangas, isa rin nating suki at kasama rin po natin ang from Davao City. Welcome po kay Ma'am Emma Abas. Kasama din po natin ang dalawa pang taga Doña Magdalena H. Gafford High School, si John Ray at si Eliza. Welcome sa inyo. So as what I said, ito po ay isa na namang punong-punong edisyon kasi continuation po siya nung ating napag-aralan sa trigonometry nung nakaraang Biyernes. So Matalino Friday po tayo. So for quarter 4, week 4. So ang atin pong pag-uusapan ay directly na po puproceed tayo sa using trigonometric ratios to solve real-life problems. Okay? But before that, alamin muna po natin ano po ba yung mga prerequisite, ano po ba yung mga dapat nating mga balikan na aralin para sa trigonometry natin ngayong hapon na ito. So, amin pong pinapasalamatan ang ngayon po gumamit din po ako ng ibang modules. So, ginamit ko rin po yung learner's material. So, kumuha rin po ako ng mga ibang illustration doon kasi para po yung gagamitin ko sa review, marami po akong pwedeng magamit na material. So, pero nagpapasalamat pa rin po kami for the content. Amin pa rin pong naging basis para sa session na ito sa quarter 4, week 4, ang atin pong modules from DepEd Region 7, ang atin pong Negros Oriental Division. Maraming salamat po. Okay? So ano po ba yung, kagaya po ng sinabi ko, ano po ba yung kailangan nating balikan o reviewin para sa hapon na ito? So, ayan po, nakita nyo po na kailangan natin uling balikan yung concepts na diniscuss natin last week, which are the angles of elevation and depression, and pag-uusapan pa rin po natin ang line of sight. And then, pagkatapos po nating balikan yung ating mga pinag-aralan last week, tayo rin po ay magpo-proceed na sa sinasabi ko nga pong main lesson natin, which is to solve real-life problems involving right triangles. Okay? So, ayan po, marami po tayong mga active online participants. Sila rin po yung mga nakita ko sa nakaraang linggo. So, welcome po kay Ma'am from Davao City, Elibana Agait. Ayan, taga Vicente Hizon Elementary School. So, maaring so sa mga magulang po na kasama namin, so I hope patuloy po kayong makisubaybay para po sa mga iba pa po naming mga sessions ngayong hapon sa mga iba-ibang levels niyo pong anak. So for now, ako po ang makakasama ninyo from 3 o'clock to 3:40 for grade 9 mathematics. Okay? So ano po ba ang ating gagawin na una? So since magre-review po tayo, babalikan po natin yung mga ibang items na ginamit ko po sa knowledge check. Medyo tinweak ko lang po, binago ko lang po ng konti yung mga given, pero it's the same concept that we will be going back to. So atin pong alamin ng ating unang question for the multiple choice type of review. So we are given the figure on the right, okay? So a tower, na meron po tayong observer. So yun po yung nakuha ko na mga illustrations from the learner's material po ng ating DepEd, yung ginagamit po natin even when we had face-to-face. At meron din po nito sa LEAP. So kinuha ko po yung mga ibang figures from Pivot, Calabarzon, or LEAP. Okay? So ayan po yung ating figure na nanggaling din sa learner's material. Meron po tayong tower with an observer na nandoon po sa part na yun ng tower, somewhere on the top of the tower. And then, meron pong object sa baba na tinitingnan niya. So which of the following would be the correct line of sight? Ayan. So una po natin sa choices ay from letter A, we have OP. So ray OP po ba ang line of sight? Is it ray OR? Is it PR? Or wala po dun sa mga choices? So I'll be looking into your comments po sa ating comment box. Okay, para malaman ko po kung naalala ninyo, ano po ba ang ibig sabihin ng line of sight? It is the imaginary line na nag-draw po natin from the observer to the object na kailangan niyang tingnan. So, assuming na meron po tayong tinitingnan sa baba, in this case, ano po ang tamang side of the angle that will refer to the line of sight? Is it ray OP? Ray OR? Is it PR? Or letter D, wala po sa mga choices. So ayan, nababasa ko po yung sagot. Ang pinakaunang nagsagot ang ating pong mga keyboard warriors from Lipa. Ayan, si Rhea Rose Ann, sabi niya, letter B. Okay, so tingnan nga natin kung may iba pang mga sagot. Ayan, pare-parehas sila ng sagot. Kahit si Eliza Navarro from grade 9 Capricorn. So nagsagot din siya kaparehas ni Rhea Rose Ann. At pati na rin si Eliza from the same school, okay? So also from Doña Magdaleno Gafford High School. Ayan, so tingnan natin kung ang tamang sagot nga ba ay letter B. Ayan. So as what they have mentioned, ang tama pong line of sight, okay? Since this is an angle of depression, so the horizontal line of sight po yun yung O, ray OP. O yung initial side ng ating angle, while the line of sight is that imaginary line that we need to draw to connect the observer's eye to that object na kanyang tinititigan. So yun po ang ating definition ng line of sight in the past. Okay, let's go to our second question. So for another review item, let us have this time a figure again, but we are asked to name the angle of elevation. So given the figure on the right, okay, so meron po kayo nakitang Eiffel Tower, another tower, but this time, the observer. So, tingnan niyo po yung ating theta. So, ang ating reference angle ay may vertex na O. So, nandun po yung observer. So, ibig sabihin, the eye of the observer is there. So, ano ang magiging angle of elevation based from this? Okay? So, meron kasi tayong letter D dyan. Kaya sa mga choices po, makikita niyo yung DAO. Ayan. So, from our choices, we have letter A. Is it angle BAO? Or letter B? Is it angle BOA or letter C? Angle daw or DAO ba? Yun ba daw? Or letter D ulit, wala doon sa mga pagpipilian. Okay? So what is the correct answer here? Yan, welcome po sa mga kasama natin. Marami tayong mga suki from Doña Magdalena Gafford High School. Okay, so ayan, banggitin na natin si John Ray, kanina pa siya bumati siya uli, kasama ni Abby Jane Manalo. So watching also from section 9 Aries. Shout out sa mga kaklase mo sa 9 Aries. So masipag nating mga manonood yan sila Aries, Capricorn. Okay, nababasa ko lagi yung section nila. Ayan, marami na tayong natatanggap na kasagutan. So most of them agrees na ang ating angle of elevation is angle BOA. Okay, so which is of course the correct answer. So ang atin pong angle of elevation, ang initial side natin ay ang horizontal, okay, horizontal side ng angle, and of course heading towards that tip of the tower na tinititigan. So that should be angle BOA. Okay, let's go now to our third question. This time, kaparehas po ng isa sa mga tanong na binigay ko, we should know how to illustrate based from the choices what would be the best illustration for this problem. So iniba ko po yung given ko. This time, meron tayong isang tower daw that stands vertically, okay, vertically on the ground. From a point on the ground that is 20 meter away from the foot of the tower. So again, ang aking initial presumption dito, lagi niyong tatandaan na ang ating ground ay horizontal. Okay, hindi siya naka-incline, so flat po yung ground. From a point on the ground, 20 meter away from that tower, from the foot of that tower, the angle of elevation of the top of the tower is 60 degrees. Okay, so meaning, yung observer, tumitingin siya sa top of the tower, nakabuo siya ng 60 degrees angle as the angle of elevation. The question is, which of the following is the most appropriate figure for our problem? Okay, letter A, ito po yung ating problem. So, meron kang 60 degrees doon sa acute angle, adjacent side ng angle is 20 meters. So, meaning the tower, the height of the tower is represented daw by A, B. Okay? So, dito naman sa pangalawang choice, okay, so 20 meters was labeled as our tower. Okay? Tapos, yun daw yung AB. And the same angle, so angle of angle C is 60 degrees. That is our theta. While on our last choice, so kasi ayan po, para magkasya lang hanggang letter C. So, hanggang letter C lang po yung nagawa kong choice. So, we have here, 60 degrees is drawn at the vertex A. Okay? So, ibig sabihin, the angle of elevation daw ay nasa CAB. And, pareha sila ng letter B. You assign 20 meters as the given vertical side of the triangle ABC. Okay, so ano ang tamang sagot sa number 3? Which is the correct illustration for the given problem about our tower that stands vertically on the ground? Okay, so is it A, B, or C? Ayan. So, ang pinakaunang nagsagot pero hindi pa siya sure. So, sabi niya C. Okay, so take note of the problem para kasi dalawang ating provided information. So sa right triangle trigonometry na ganito, usually we are provided an angle and a given side. Okay, an angle or the hypotenuse din pwede. Because anyway, hypotenuse is a side. Or two sides. Pero dito sa case na to, ang angle of elevation given, and provided tayo ng isa sa mga sides ng right triangle, which is 20 meters. Okay, so ang ano na lang doon, saan magkakatalo, kung saan ba talaga natin dapat ililabel para saan ba yung 20 meters. Is it the adjacent to the angle or is it the side opposite the 60 degrees angle? Okay, ayan, maraming silang nagbibigay na ng sagot. So, nagpalit ng sagot yung iba. So, sabi nila A. Pero most of them answered letter C. Okay, so tingnan natin ano po ba ang tamang sagot. Okay, so tama po yung answer na binago ni Rhea Rose and it should be letter A. Remember, okay, so ang ating provided information sa problem, the person observing the top of the tower was 20 meter away from the foot of the tower. So ibig sabihin, ang distansya niya horizontally mula sa paan ng tower, okay, or ano, hindi yata pa yung niliteral kong Tagalog, yun pong pinaka-ground sa pinaka pinaka lowest level ng tower, 20 meters siya from that. So ibig sabihin, we should correctly assign our adjacent side to be the 20 meters. Tapos, okay, just because mali po rin yung B kasi, at saka C, lalo na yung C, mali po siya kasi ang angle of elevation natin, remember, it should be the horizontal is here, tapos sa pataas yung angle. So our theta would therefore be properly located at that. So ine-expound ko lang po kasi maraming nagkaroon ng misconception about the angle of elevation. So the angle of elevation there will be angle ACB and not angle CAB. Okay? So yan po. Balikan na natin ang isa pang problem this time. Okay? So meron tayong special right triangle kasi may 30 degrees, 60 degrees tayo dyan. What is the value of x in the figure? Okay, sa number 4, this time, without need of calculating, how will you find the value of x degrees doon in the figure, which is what we will be calling as the angle then natin dito. Okay, dito. So, hindi nga siya yung theta kasi ang theta natin, if our observer is on that plane, okay, so ang angle of depression natin ang given. Pero ano ang dapat na magiging value ng x because of that? Okay, is it 90? Okay, 60, 30, or 15? Sa number 4, ano ang magiging measure ng angle na yon? Okay, that will be represented by x, the x there, okay, the variable x. Is it A, 90, B, 60, C, 30, or D, 15? Okay, so yan po. Correction, dapat walang degrees kasi may degrees na po dun sa given. So value lang, so dapat numbers lang po. 90, 60, 30, 15. Okay, so most of the answers, okay, nag-agree silang lahat na 30. In fact, si Eliza Manzano, sabi niya 30. Yan. Tingnan natin, nag-agree naman po ako sa inyo. Kasi, alam natin na, di ba, sa grade 8 lesson, i-connect ko lang, di ba, sa congruence of triangles, that angle of depression natin na 30 degrees, angle of depression po yung nakalabel dyan na 30 degrees, will be of the same measure doon din sa angle natin na represented by x. Okay, so yan po yung tinatawag din natin na relationship sa congruence of triangles even when we look at it as parallelogram. So sa parallelogram, meron tayong dalawang congruent triangles na na-form. So these corresponding angles, 30 degrees sila parehas. Okay, so I think that was also the same item na ginamit ko nung nakaraang knowledge check. Okay, let's have our last question. Okay, this time we have a figure and we are asked to identify which of the following trigonometric ratio that will be used to identify or to solve rather, paano natin masosolve yung height. Okay, so ang hinahanap natin ay yung opposite ng theta because our theta is 40 degrees or the angle of elevation formed by the bamboo pole. So, ano ang kailangan natin gamitin na trigonometric ratio to find the unknown height of the tree in the figure? Okay, the choices are, of course, the three fundamental trigonometric ratio. Is it the tangent of our theta? Letter B, is it the cosine of theta? Letter C, sine of theta. Okay, for number 5, una nagsagot ay C. I don't know if this is for number 5. Okay, pero I will assume Nika answered letter C. No, that's for number 4. Si Juanito, siya yung pinaka-recent na nag-comment. Juanito Salas, okay, so sabi niya letter C. Okay, so I think we will agree on that kasi nga po, hindi ko naantayin yung mga sagot ng iba. O yan, may mga patanong kasi sila. Pero tama po si Juanito kasi tingnan ninyo yung ating problem. So, meron tayong theta, doon nga po sa angle of elevation na form ng bamboo with the ground. So, we are looking for the opposite side. So, yun pong height, the vertical side ng right triangle na na-form natin is the height. And we are provided the hypotenuse, which is 15 feet. Yun lang pong length ng nung side na yan, which is the bamboo, is 15 feet. So we are involving what sides? The opposite and the hypotenuse. So balikan natin yung ating mnemonic. So dun pa lang sa so. Sine, opposite over hypotenuse. So the correct answer ay tama po siya. Letter C. Sine of theta is what we will be using for this illustration, to solve H in this illustration. Okay? So, ayan, maraming nag-agree. Sila, Claren, yan. Welcome, Claren. And si Cheska, nag-agree din siya. Very good. Pati na rin si Eliza. Okay, let's go now to our reminder. So, ini-emphasize ko po yan sa umpisa pa lang ng ating lesson for angle of depression and angle of elevation na kagaya ng in-emphasize ko rin kanina while I was discussing number 5, we normally are provided two cases. So, kagaya po nung sa number 5, we are provided the hypotenuse and the opposite or one of the sides. Kung ganun po yung case na ini-involve natin yung hypotenuse and one of the sides, so we either involve the two co-functions sa ating fundamental trigonometric ratios, which are the sine or the cosine. So, alin man po yung provided dun sa problem. So, kung may hypotenuse tayo, lagi nating tatandaan, kailangan nating i-involve either sine or cosine. But in the case naman that we are provided with the two legs, the perpendicular, okay, so maaring ang given ay yung height, tapos we are looking for the distance from the foot of something to the observer. So, doon po tayo gagamit ng tangent. Okay, so yun yata yung naging misconception na laging tangent. So, it depends kung na-involve yung hypotenuse, kailangan natin gumamit ng either sine or cosine. Pero kung ang provided nga ay yung isa sa mga legs at we're looking for the other leg, so definitely we will be involving tangent because sa ating mnemonic, balikan natin, tangent involves the two legs, the opposite and the adjacent sides of our triangle. Okay? So kasi po, once na alam na natin mag-label, mag-place nung given, okay, after sketching our problem or given in the problem, then it will be a breeze, sabi ko nga, to find the answer na hinahanap natin doon sa problem. Okay? So, yun po ang kailangan nating tandaan. So, very crucial na alam natin mag-label correctly ng mga parts ng ating right triangle na imaginary right triangle na mapo-form doon sa ating problem. Okay? So, let's go now to our so, binalikan ko rin po ito kasi ayan, meron tayo uling okay, so ayan, nagamit ko na siya per se. So, babalikan ko lang para recall, to refresh your memory, bakit po ganito yung figure natin. So, ayan. So, meron tayong angle of depression na minention. So, you will notice the theta is there. 35 degrees was placed there from the eye level. So, depression po siya pag yung eye level ay mas mataas kesa dun sa line of sight. Okay? So, our eye level here in the figure is there. Tapos, tumitingin po yung bird pababa. So, kaya angle of depression yung 35 degrees. And, saan natin ilalagay yung 5? So, the 5 meters was located doon sa vertical side, which is the height of the tree. Okay? Because, sabi dun sa problem, implicitly nga lang po, a 5-meter tree. So, that means the height of the tree is 5 meters. So, yung atin pong comprehension, very important din. Ayan. So, tingin diretso. Okay. Then, yuko. So, horizontal, yun po kasi yung nagiging, isa yun sa mga parang na-confuse din ako nung binabasa ko yung module. So, I have to mention that, na kaya po ako naghanap ng ibang module, just to be sure na malinaw po sa atin na ang horizontal line of sight is different from line of sight. So, pag sinabi po nating line of sight, of course, diretso muna yung tingin, yun muna yung eye level. Tapos pag yumuko, yun na po yung line of sight natin because there's something na ino-observe na po nung bird, just like in this case. So when the observer is looking down, so yun na po yung line of sight niya because we are talking of the angle of depression in this case. Okay? So let's have another illustration. This time we have an angle of elevation in the figure. So, an observer is 71 feet away. Ayan, 71 feet away from a tree. So, ibig sabihin, yung away means maaring lumakad siya palayo from a tree by 71 feet. And because of that, naka-form siya ng angle of elevation na 31.8 degrees. So yan po yung nakita nyo na theta is equal to 31.8 degrees. Okay, so yan po yung, and of course, our unknown, let's say, is the height of the tree, which is normally what is asked, yung mga inaccessible heights. So yung height daw ng tree ay y, so kaya po siya yung nilagay natin na unknown, the height of the tree. So let's have our third illustration this time. We have a tower. So I think I got this from page 462 of our grade 9 learners material na ginamit din po sa LEAP. So kaya pinili ko po siyang isama sa aking review ngayon about illustrating a given situation. So sabi dito, a tower is 15.24 meter high. At a certain distance away from the tower, an observer determines the angle of elevation. Okay? Elevation uli siya to the top of it is 41 degrees. X represents the distance between the observer and the base of the tower. So medyo similar po siya dun sa sinama ko sa multiple choice natin kanina, sa number 3. Okay, so how are we going to illustrate this given situation? Sabi, ang height ng tower ay 15.24 meters and the observer moved at a certain distance, hindi natin alam, at a certain distance away from the tower. And it forms an angle of elevation to the top of the tower. It forms an angle of 41 degrees. Where X represents the distance between the observer and the base of the tower, how are we going to illustrate our given situation? Okay, ganito po siya. So sabi ko, may pagkakahawig siya doon sa problem number 3 natin sa review. Ayan. Okay, so the eye of the observer, ayan po yung malaking dot dyan sa baba. So the eye of the observer is there. Naka-form siya ng angle of elevation of 41 degrees and 15.24 daw yung height. So, ano ang ating hinahanap? Yung vertical, rather, yung horizontal side ng right triangle, which is represented by X. Okay, so that should be the representation or rather the illustration ng ating given situation. Ayan. So, tingnan na natin ang ating activity. Okay, pinramis ko po na babalikan ko to para lang makorek natin yung confusion din about line of sight and horizontal line of sight. So, let us always assume here that there's already either an angle of elevation or an angle of depression because here we are asked to identify first kung ano ba, meron bang line of angle of elevation or meron bang angle of depression. And then, afterwards, identify natin what is the line of sight of the observer. Okay, so lagi tayong may observer dito. Okay, so let's start with our first given. So I got this from Module 3. Binalikan ko lang po siya. Ayan. So we have, from the figure, a young girl holding a string na ang dulo po nun ay kite. So with point A included doon sa ray na yon. And then, the eye of the observer is at point C. Tapos, horizontal line of sight, the imaginary line of sight there is with point B. Okay? So ngayon, ang tinatanong, based from this illustration, ano po ba to? Angle of elevation or angle of depression? Ayan. Antayin ko po yung sagot ng ating mga online participant. This will tell us kung naaalala nyo pa yung angle of elevation and angle of depression. Bukod dun sa ginawa nating review. Sabi ni Cheska, Eunice Rara, she was the first one to answer, angle of elevation. Okay, sabi ni Cheska yun. Tinan nga natin. So, ibig sabihin, cross out yung angle of depression. Meron tayong answer for angle of elevation. So, tama siya na angle of elevation. Okay, tama po siya. So, Rhea Rose Ann, you have to be corrected. It is not an angle of depression. It is an angle of elevation. Because the kite na tinitingnan nung girl na ito ay nasa taas. So, di ba, sabi ko, kapag nauna yung horizontal, the eye level, tapos sa pataas ang tingin, that is angle of elevation. Now, the correct angle of elevation ay binigay ni Juanito Salas. Sabi niya, BCA. That is the, tingnan natin. Okay, I agree, it's BCA. Angle BCA is the angle of elevation. Ito na. Paano naman natin sasagutin alin ang line of sight? Which ray or which side of the angle will be the line of sight. So, ibig sabihin, wala tayong sagot dun sa middle column, but we need an answer for the line of sight. Is it ray CA or ray CB? Okay, so, ang tamang sagot po dito, ayan, ang line of sight natin, since may object siyang tinitingnan yung kite, okay, the correct answer here is, yan, ray CA po ang tamang sagot or simply CA. That is the line of sight of the young girl. Okay? Hindi po CB. Okay. Take note, I have to emphasize that ang tinatanong kasi dito ay line of sight after we note already that this is an angle of elevation. Okay, hindi tinatanong horizontal line of sight. So ang tinatanong, kung meron siyang tinitingnan sa taas, so ang tamang sagot talaga po ay CA. Ayan, kinorek na ni Rhea Rose ang kanyang answer. Ayan, CA. And I think most agrees. Okay, Cheska agrees that the line of sight is CA. Because remember, we define line of sight as the imaginary line from the eye of the observer to the object being observed. Okay, so kaya po yan ang tamang sagot. Sa ating pangalawang illustration, ayan ang object nasa baba. Okay, kaya ibig sabihin, may hint na kayo na yung tao, pasensya na, parang yung naging Spider-Man yung tao. Okay, so yan yung tao, yung observer po, this time is denoted by yung eye of the observer rather, that point is denoted by A. Okay, tapos may object siyang tinitingnan. Doon, yung may object, yung parang dollar, pera pala yun, no? Dollar sign. So, ano ngayon ang ating magiging tamang sagot? Is it an angle of elevation or an angle of depression? Ayan, nagsasagot na sila. Ang bilis nila. Di ko pa natatapos yung tanong. Nagsagot na si Rhea Rose Ann. With the revenge, sabi niya agad, angle of depression. All caps. Ayan, tama po kayo. Angle of depression siya. Ngayon, how will we label this angle of elevation? Ano ang ating name that angle of depression? Okay, we have no answer. Okay. Ayan, sabi ni Claren, so si Claren nagsagot uli siya, sabi niya, the angle of depression, nag-agree si Juanito, ayan, okay, tingnan natin, tama po kayo. Yan, the angle of depression po really is angle CAB. The object kasi is B, so yan yung ating nasa dulo, CAB, while the line of sight, o ano naman po ang ating line of sight? Sabi ni Juanito, hindi ko pa tinatanong, the eye level, okay, is AC, but the line of sight is, yan, very clear po yung sagot ni Juanito. I agree with that kind of answer na i-differentiate natin yung horizontal line of sight sa line of sight of the observer to the object. So from the observer to the object, the correct answer is AB. So ray AB po ang tamang sagot. Ayan na nakita nyo sa ating last column. Okay, let's go to our last item in activity 1 na kailangan nating balikan. Ayan, this time, ayan, yung parrot, I think, diba, si Captain Hook kasi yung, ayan, may nakita kayong nakalutang doon somewhere sa sa mast, ay hindi, doon mismo sa pinakaano ng ship ni Captain Hook merong parrot. Okay, may tinitingnan siyang object somewhere in the sea. Of course, I'm assuming na nakalayag na yan. So may object siyang tinitingnan. What angle should we call here? Yung ating ini-illustrate na angle. Is it an angle of elevation or an angle of depression? Para sa ating number 3, si Clare nagsagot na agad siya. Angle of depression is angle ACB. Okay, which is the correct answer. Sa math, di na muling magkakamali. Sa pag-ibig lang, baka muling madapa. Ayan, tama yan, Juanito. Dapat, we always aim for preciseness and accuracy sa math. Okay, so ang tamang sagot talaga ay binigay mo. So that is angle ACB, that is the angle of depression. Nag-agree naman po silang lahat. Okay, or pwede rin yung BCA. Si Rhea Rose Ann, nag-agree na siya. So si Cheska, thank you. And what will be the line of sight? Okay, ayan, tingnan natin kung nakakasunod pa. Ano ang ating line of sight nung bird going to the object being observed? Okay, ayan, meron na namang confusion tayo sa line of sight. Horizontal line of sight or eye level is AC. O, yan yung in-emphasize natin kanina. So, what should be the correct line of sight? Assuming nga na may object na tayong pinapanood doon, yung parrot may pinapanood siyang object sa probably a fish, okay? So meron pa rin kasi mga sumasagot ng ibang line of sight. So the line of sight, Juanito, is correct. Okay? Kasama rin ni Rhea Rose Ann, the line of sight is CB. Yan po yung tamang line of sight natin. Okay? So very clear na ang line of sight natin ay yung side that is going to the object. Okay? CB. Okay, nag-agree naman po sila. Let's go now to our module problem na nakuha ko from module 4 of ang atin po nagpo-provide ng module sa ginagamit natin sa session from DepEd, NEG-OR. So ito yung aking nakuhang problem sa what's more nila, which I find very useful to differentiate nga po yung dalawang case na sinasabi ko. Kailan tayo pwedeng gumamit ng tangent lang or kailan tayo gagamit ng sine. Okay, remember we're dealing with, so ito na tayo doon sa nagsosolve na po talaga tayo ng problem related to trigonometric ratio. So it's very important na i-classify natin kapag ganito po ba yung case, are we going to use tangent? Okay, pag ganitong illustration, anong gagamitin ba natin? Is it sine or cosine? Ano dun sa dalawang co-functions natin? So let us have a problem that I got from module 4 of our sponsoring DepEd, NEG-OR. Ayan, sabi dito, a bamboo pole is leaning against a tree. Okay? So, merong bamboo pole leaning against a tree. Okay, ayan yung makita nyo sa figure. Tapos, the height of the tree is given this time. If the height of the tree is 12 feet and the angle made by the pole and the ground is 40 degrees. Kaya po yung figure, nakita ninyo, okay, 40 degrees ang theta natin. What is the length of the pole? Okay, so ang tinatanong, ano ang ating haba ng bamboo pole? Okay, yung naka-incline, remember, naka-lean yung ating pole against a tree. So it's the inclined. So, ibig sabihin, sa case na to, ang ini-involve natin this time, kasama yung hypotenuse sa problem. Because we want to know the length of the bamboo pole. Okay, which is the inclined side po sa ating figure. So therefore, ang ating gagamitin ay ang anong ating gagamitin kayang function? Sige, let us ask is it any of the three trigonometric functions po kasi yung ating kailangan gamitin? Is it either sine or cosine ba? Or is it tangent? So, ano ang ating gagamitin na trigonometric ratio? Kung ang ating provided figure ay nagsasabi na given that the height of the tree or the vertical side of the right triangle na na-form natin sa figure ay 12, while the angle of elevation or theta is 40 degrees. So which, ayan, ang daming nagsasagot ng tama. Ayan. Si Claren ang pinakaunang nagsabi ng tamang sagot. Sabi niya, sine. Sumunod naman si Eliza. Ayan, nag-agree na yung ating mga active online participants. Thank you very much, grade 9 learners. Talagang naalala niyo yung ating SOHCAHTOA. So we are going to involve sine kasi the length of the pole is the hypotenuse and it can be solved using the sine function because we are going to involve the opposite, which is the given, and the unknown is our hypotenuse. Okay? So, kaya tama po kayo. Sine is opposite over hypotenuse where the theta, sabi nga ni Juanito, kasi given yung 40 degrees, so ang opposite niya ay yung height. Kaya kailangan natin gamitin ang opposite over hypotenuse. Okay. So we continue. So we have now to set up our equation. So it's very important na nakaka-identify tayo ng trigonometric ratio na gagamitin because this will let us set up our equation correctly. So sine 40 degrees or sine theta is equal to the opposite side, which is the height of the tree, over the unknown hypotenuse. So therefore, we can continue by letting theta as 40 degrees and i-represent natin yung ating bottom number sa ratio na x. Okay, sine theta is equal to 12 over x, where theta, as what we said, is 40 degrees. Okay, so to solve for x, so as a shortcut, tinuro ko po yan last time, na we can interchange the bottom number sa ratio na x by the isolated trigonometric ratio na sine theta. So if our theta is if our theta is 40, so we can interchange sine 40 and x. So that is why we have now x equals 12 over sine 40 degrees. And using our calculator, we have, okay, let me show it to you paano i-recall natin. So kailangan alam natin gamit ng, okay, I'll be sharing my entire screen. Okay, yan po. So I will be using our, ayan, ayaw po, ayan. Naglalag lang. Pasensya na po, anything goes sa live. Okay. Nakita na po ba nila yung screen? Medyo naglalag. Okay. Ayan. So, pero we're having technical issues. Okay, sir. When I tried, wala pa po. Ayan. So, probably, okay po, nagkaroon ng technical issue. I'll be sharing na lang again. Okay. Okay, bumibitaw po ang aking internet. Yan, kapit lang tayo kasi kailangan natin makita paano naging ganun yung sagot. Paano natin siya in order kinikiin uli sa ating calculator. So, remember, we are given the opposite is 12 and the hypotenuse, the unknown. Okay, so ayan po, naglalag talaga. What should we do? Okay. So, ulitin ko lang po. Ayan. So, may sagot naman na sila, which is obviously, nakita ko kay Rhea Rose, tinry niya talaga sa calculator kasi yung talaga, hindi niya ni-round off. Pinakita niya talaga, kinopy-paste niya perhaps yung lumabas sa calculator niya sa cellphone and she wrote the answer. Kasi ang tinatanong ay express to the yung degree po ng accuracy. Nabubulol ako kasi medyo na ano ko dun sa technical problem po. Yan. Okay. Sir, naghahang po yung laptop ko, sir. Ayaw niya bumalik sa StreamYard. Okay. Yan po. Siguro, i-close ko na lang muna yung ibang. Okay. I'll just okay. So, yan po yung tamang sagot naman, no? Binigay naman nila, kaya lang I cannot share my screen right now. Nagkakaroon po ako ng technical difficulty sa aking laptop. Yan. Oo. So, shout out muna tayo, no? Sa ayan, si Rizel, sabi niya, sign. So, yun yung sinabi niya kanina. Tapos, sabi ko nga si Rhea Rose Ann, no, napaka-active nating participant, sabi niya, 18.67 nung ni-round off to the nearest hundreds. Na yun po yung hinihingi sa problem. Okay, kaya kinorek niya. Okay. Ayan po. So anyway, sa atin pong part 2, no, magkakaroon po tayo ng, kasi this is for week 4 and week 5. So itutuloy natin kasi yung mga problems po talaga na nakikita natin sa module are simple problems. But remember, there are some cases na pagdating po natin talaga sa real life situation, hindi lang isang triangle, isang right triangle yung ma-form natin. There will be some cases na kailangan po nating mag-involve ng dalawang right triangle. Sa isang problem, magagamit tayo perhaps ng merong right triangle na angle of elevation ang included, tapos angle of depression ang kasama niya. Okay, so we will be having such kind of problems next week. Okay, so just in time po, amin na po kayong iniimbitahan para sa ating next tutor. So let us stay tuned for Sir Avhil from Bataan for Mathematics 10, and we hope you will subscribe and like our YouTube channel po sa DepEd TV. Meron din po tayong DepEd Online at mapapanood nyo rin po ang mga broadcast namin sa DepEd Philippines bukod po sa ating mga FB page. So maraming salamat po and hope I will be able to see you soon pa see you next week. So thank you po sa mga active participants natin. I'm sorry, nagkaroon lang po ako ng technical glitch right now. So hindi na natin matutuloy. Pero just in case, sabi ko nga, sa mga problems natin, I promise na magbibigay ako ng isa munang sample and then we will proceed doon talaga sa mga kind of problems na naka-assign for week 5. Kasi meron po tayong part 2 ng problem solving. Maraming salamat po. Thank you, Direk. Thank you po, sir.
Sigurado ako na marami ka na namang natutuhan sa ating ETUlay tutorial session ngayong araw. Tandaan, ito ay hindi lamang para sa ating mga mag-aaral, kundi pati rin sa ating mga minamahal na guro at mga magulang na kaagapay natin para maituloy ang pagkatuto sa kabila ng nararanasang pandemya. Patuloy ding sumubaybay sa DepEd TV para sa mga araling ginawang video episodes. Mapapanood ito mula Lunes hanggang Sabado, alas 7 ng umaga hanggang alas 7 ng gabi sa inyong mga telebisyon. Abangan sa Lunes mula 1:00 ng tanghali ang iba pang aralin sa ating ETUlay free online tutorial session sa Science. I-like and subscribe at manatiling nakasubaybay sa ating ETUlay tutorial session sa DepEd Edtech Unit FB page at Educational Technology Unit channel sa YouTube at sa DepEd Tayo at DepEd Philippines social media accounts. Paalam!